أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Surah 88, Al-Gashiya, the overwhelming event, Meccan period. Title: Al-Gashiya, literally, the overwhelming event. The surah's opening word is how this chapter is titled. Period of revelation. Al-Gashiya is clearly one of the earliest Meccan surahs in terms of its contents. It was revealed when the Prophet, peace be upon him, had publicly launched his call to Islam, even though the Meccans by and large ignored it. Subject matter and themes. It is worth clarifying that in the early days of his mission, the Prophet's message centered on the following two articles of faith: 1. Monotheism, and 2. The hereafter. However, the Meccans refused to believe in these. This circumstantial setting may, therefore, help in better appreciating this surah's contents. To awaken the Meccans lost in slumber, a disturbing question is posed before them. Has the news of the overwhelming event reached you? This is immediately followed by marshalling the harrowing details of the day when men will be divided into two groups, each meeting a different end. One group will be driven to hell and face its many punishments there. The other will enter the lofty gardens of paradise and enjoy its innumerable bounties. After administering this shock to people, other questions are raised. Do these unbelievers not even reflect on objects of everyday life, as they refuse to accept the Quranic teachings on monotheism and the hereafter? For example, do they not observe camels, their lifeline in the desert? How these have been created with exactly those features that are best suited for their life in the desert? During their journeys, they see the sky, mountains, and the earth, so let them reflect on these objects only. How was the sky raised high? How were the mountains fixed? How was the earth spread out? Did all this happen without the creative power of the Supreme Lord, the wise designer? If they concede the role of the Creator, who brought into being all this without any partner, why can they not accept Him as the one true God? If they recognize Allah as their Creator, they should not have any difficulty in grasping the concept of resurrection. He is certainly able to bring back the dead to life. Again, He has the power to set up paradise and hell. After presenting this succinct and clinching argument before the unbelievers, the address is directed at the Prophet, peace be upon him. The unbelievers' rejection should not worry him, for he is not invested with the authority to compel them. His job consists only in rendering them good counsel, which he should carry out. All of them will ultimately return to Allah. He will then call them to account and punish the unbelievers terribly.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate.
هل أتاك حديث الغاشية?
Has the news of the overwhelming event reached you?
1. The overwhelming, the resurrection which will overshadow the whole world. One should know that here the hereafter as a whole is being depicted, which comprehends all the stages from the upsetting of the present system to the resurrection of all human beings and the dispensation of rewards and punishments from the divine court.
وجوه يومئذ خاشعة.
Some faces that day shall be downcast with fear.
2. Some faces, some persons, for the face is the most conspicuous part of the human body by which man's personality is judged and which reflects the good or bad states through which man passes. 3. At
عاملة ناصبة.
Be toiling and worn out.
تصلى نارا حامية.
They shall burn in a scorching fire.
تسقى من عين آنية.
Their drink shall be from a boiling spring.
ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع.
They shall have no food except bitter dry thorns.
3. At some places in the Quran, it has been stated that the dwellers of hell will be given zakum to eat. At another place it has been said that they will have no other food but ghislin, washing from wounds, and here that their only food will be thorny dry grass. There is, in fact, no contradiction between these statements. This may as well mean that hell will have many different compartments in which different categories of the criminals will be lodged according to their crimes, and subjected to different punishments. This may also mean that if they try to avoid Zakum they will be given Gizlan, and if they try to avoid even that, they will only get thorny grass. In short, they would get nothing to suit their taste. 4.
لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع.
That will neither nourish nor satisfy their hunger.
وجوه يومئذ ناعمة.
On that very day, some faces shall be radiant with joy,
لسعيها راضية.
well pleased with their striving.
That is, they will be overjoyed to see the best results in the hereafter of their endeavors and deeds in the world. They will be satisfied to see that they had, in fact, made a profitable bargain in that they had adopted a life of faith, virtue and piety, by sacrificing the desires of the flesh, undergone hardships in carrying out their obligations, endured afflictions in obeying the divine commands, incurred losses and suffered deprivation of benefits and pleasures while trying to avoid sins and acts of disobedience. 5.
في جنة عالية.
They will be in a lofty garden,
لا تسمع فيها لاغية.
wherein they shall hear no vain talk.
5. This thing has been mentioned at several places in the Quran as a major blessing of paradise. For explanation see N. 38 of Surah Maryam, E.N. 18 of Surah At-Tur, E.N. 13 of Surah Al-Waqiah, E.N. 21 of Surah An-Naba.
فيها عين جارية.
In it there shall be a flowing spring,
فيها سرر مرفوعة.
and couches raised high,
وأكواب موضوعة.
and goblets laid out.
6. That is, filled goblets already supplied so that they do not have to ask for them.
ونمارق مصفوفة.
And cushions arrayed in rows,
وزرابي مبثوثة.
and rich carpets leveled out.
أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت.
Do these unbelievers not observe the camels, how they were created,
وإلى السماء كيف رفعت.
and the sky, how it was raised high,
وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت.
and the mountains, how they were fixed,
وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت.
and the earth, how it was spread out.
7. That is, if they deny the possibility of the hereafter, have they never looked around themselves and considered how the camels were created, how the heaven was raised high, how the mountains were firmly set, and how the earth was spread out? When all these things could be created, and exist before them in their finished form, why can the resurrection not take place? Why cannot a new world come about, and why cannot hell and heaven be possible? Only a foolish and thoughtless person would think that the coming into existence of only those things which he has found existing, on opening his eyes in the world, is possible, because they already exist. As for the things which he has not yet observed and experienced, he should thoughtlessly pass the judgment that their coming into being is impossible. If he has any common sense, he should think as to how the things, which already exist, came into being? How did the camel possessing precisely the same characteristics as needed for the beasts required by the desert dwellers of Arabia come into being? How did the sky, whose atmosphere is filled with air to breathe in, whose clouds bring rain, whose sun provides light and warmth in the day, whose moon and stars shine at night, come into being? How did the earth spread out on which man lives and passes his life, whose products fulfill all his needs and requirements, on whose springs and wells his life depends? How did the mountains rise up from the surface of the earth, which stand fixed with earth, and stones of different colors and a variety of minerals in them? Has all this happened without the artistic skill of an all-powerful, all-wise designer? No thinking and intelligent mind can answer this question in the negative. Unless it is stubborn and obstinate, it will have to acknowledge that each one of these things was impossible, had not an omnipotent, wise being made it possible. And when an all-powerful, wise being created these things, there is no reason why the hereafter should be regarded as remote from reason and impossible.
فذكر إنما أنت مذكر.
So render good counsel, for you are simply required to counsel,
لست عليهم بمسيطر.
and are not invested with the authority to compel them.
8. That is, if a person does not listen to reason, he may not. You have not been appointed to force the will of the deniers. Your only task is to distinguish the right from the wrong for the people and warn them of the consequences of following the wrong way. So this is the task you should continue to perform.
إلا من تولى وكفر.
But whoever will turn away from the truth and disbelieve,
فيعذبه الله العذاب الأكبر.
Allah will chastise him with the most terrible chastisement.
إن إلينا إيابهم.
Surely to us is their return.
ثم إن علينا حسابهم.
And then it is for us to call them to account.